chances are, at least one time in your life, you've heard the phrase, you are what you eat. But the question is, do you know what everything you eat is? When you go to the store and you buy a frozen pizza or something, you walk down aisles and aisles and aisles of all these plastic wrapped and preserved and processed foods that have lists of ingredients on them that are brimming with crazy chemical names that most of us don't know what they are. So how can you be sure what you're putting in your body, which later becomes reconstituted into your cellular mass and essentially you? How do you know what you're putting in your body is healthy? The advent of processed foods has created a lot of problems. Obesity rates have been increasing. Uh, Western diseases like diabetes and cardiac disease and all sorts of different things have been on the rise within the United States. And this is, I believe, a large and due to the processed food epidemic. All of the stuff you see here is a processed food. Frozen pizza, and pretty much anything that's pre-prepared for you, that hasn't been prepared fresh, that has preservatives, food additives, food dyes, all of those are considered processed foods. Now, we all need to eat healthy. We all know this. I mean, every single person has probably been taught since they've been a kid that if you don't eat healthy, there will be consequences for you later on in life. But in the media, we get mixed up about some argument as to what healthy really is. However, all of these things you see before you are natural. Your body evolved with them. Maybe not your specific body, but the human race has evolved with these foods and things that the earth provided, and it helped shape and tune our physiology into what it is today. Now, like I said, you are what you eat, and we all do need to eat healthy. But when we're talking about all these processed foods, one of the main things that comes to mind is obesity. Now, as you can see by this chart, obesity in the United States eclipses a lot of these other well-established industrialized nations, not only in terms of the rate of its growth, but in the total percentage of obesity in the United States. And although obesity is just a clip on a page, some of the processed food additives can contribute to these too. They are usually very high in fat and very high in sugar, but some of the additives, such as the preservatives, surfactants in particular, have very interesting consequences. Catalina Kasaki, I don't really know if I'm saying that right, released an article in entitled "Synthetic Surfactant Food Additives Can Cause Intestinal Barrier Dysfunction." She said, "Synthetic surfactant food additives are intensively applied even in the most frequently consumed foods, such as bakery products. Parallel with the excessive use of food surfactant additives, there has been an increase in the incidence of diseases related to intestinal hyperpermeability." What this basically means is these chemicals are meant to help you absorb the food and help them be preserved longer, but they also allow your intestines to absorb antigens and harmful bacteria that they might normally keep out through their own methods. Another study noted an increase in the possibility of prostate cancer in men. This was originally researched by Kristen J. Aronson and released in the Urology Times. New research shows an association between a diet heavy in processed foods and an increased risk in prostate cancer. This dietary pattern, called the processed diet, includes refined grain products, processed meats, red meat, and organ meat, vegetable oils and juices, soft drinks, onions, tomatoes, bottled water, according to a study. Now, prostate cancer is a very, very nasty way to die. And I'm not saying that if you eat processed foods that you will get cancer. However, the long-term ingestion of all these things over and over and over and over and over and over again, it's like being a lifetime smoker, a little bit, on a much less scale. Basically, you're being exposed to these possibly harmful things for a long period of time, and that raises the risk of these consequences. While dietary changes can help you do that and reduce your risk. Now, these additives don't only just make you, the likelihood of being sick or gaining weight. Jeffrey Kluger, a writer for Time, in a 2010 issue, quoted a study saying that American girls as young as 7 are entering puberty at double the rate they were in the late 1990s, perhaps as a result of the obesity epidemic, but perhaps too as a result of the hormones in the environment, including their food. All the food additives and preservatives, most of them are synthetic chemicals. And when I say synthetic, I mean they have organic origins, but they've been manipulated into something else. And it takes a long time to study the actual results of what this does to the human body. It takes, it can take years and years and years for bad consequences to actually come out. And so a lot of these things, we really don't know what we're dealing with. I don't know if speeding up puberty should really be a requirement of food. And I think the government should step in and do something about this. Although, Betsy Spethman released in a Brand Week article in 1995 that she thinks food marketers should push fruit and vegetables. She said, "I'd like to see all food companies advocate eating fruits and vegetables, whether they sell them or not. I'd like to see it on a can of Coke. We need to protect consumers from themselves." However, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't see Coca-Cola pitching in a go eat vegetables plan. I think it's unrealistic. I think the government needs to help do something about it. At first, it needs to start at home. It needs to be us, the consumers. We are the people who are buying the food, so we need to know what we're buying, and we need to know why we're buying it. However, at some point, the public is going to get up to the level of realization where they realize that they've had enough of it, and that Coca-Cola's profit margin is probably going to continue getting in the way of them getting a lot of the food that is actually better for them. That's why I propose that the government should limit the sale of processed food. I think less of it should be put into supermarket shelves, and I think less emphasis should be put on it in the food production market. So, thank you for listening to me, and I hope I've persuaded you.